Anxiety is a really big deal. I did a video recently talking about people who experience dizziness or vertigo when they go in big open spaces. And one of the most common comments that people made, as we see right here, was anxiety, panic attacks. I thought that this was what triggered it. And I said numerous times in a reply that no, anxiety oftentimes is going to be an effect, not necessarily a cause. So I figured it's going to be worth a bit of a deep dive to explain a little bit how anxiety is not always a matter of your brain playing a trick on your mind, but instead it can be your body playing a trick on your brain. In other words, garbage in, garbage out. And anxiety and dizziness, these things go hand in hand because they are two sides of the same coin. Let's have a look at that. Okay, I've got an article here. Don't worry, I'm not going to read this one aloud here for you, but just wanted to give you the source because I want to reference this picture that we have right here. So there is a cluster of cells in your brain. It's known as the Nucleus, Ceruleus. This is the center that's responsible for producing norepinephrine, the drug essentially that means go. We need energy. We need a surge. This is going to put the body into the active, aka sympathetic state. So if you are getting chased or you in fear for your life, you need this center to activate. And as we can see in this illustration here, it's going to have systemic influences on brain function. It's going to have branches that go to what's called your cerebellum. This is the part that's responsible for fine motor coordination. It's going to have centers that are going to go to a variety of different areas in the brainstem, responsible for activating certain reflexes with your heart, with your lungs, when you need to just simply put go. It's going to have a series of fibers that are going up to the higher centers of the brain involved with sensation, awareness, thought, emotion, feeling, etc., etc. And it also receives feedback, as you see in the blue line, coming from the brain that's going to be triggering these different kinds of hyperanxious states. Now, if this system is working properly, okay, no issue. When we are in a state where we need a sudden surge of adrenaline, then yeah, we're going to be able to get it. The problem is if this center is overactive, and this can happen for a lot of different reasons. If there is some kind of an imbalance in our hormones or our endocrine system, where our basically hormones can start to diminish over a period of time, and the body starts running on fumes. If it's not able to regulate hormones, then this center of the brain oftentimes is called into action. And if it starts to become hyperactive, a person can find themselves trapped then in a sense of anxiety. This can also happen, of course, with people if they are dealing with post-traumatic stress for any number of reasons. Again, as we see in the blue, messages from the upper parts of the brain right here are going to be traveling down. So if we, and this is the important thing, is if we perceive a threat, the body then needs to go into this fight or flight state. This locus ceruleus then is going to activate everything, and we're going to basically pick up that sense of anxiety, urge to move, things like that. The problem, though, is if we are misperceiving signals. That is, even a small thing in our environment essentially triggers us into this fight or flight state. Then we start feeling jittery, our heart starts going up, and it's not exactly a normal response. And most of the treatment is focused on this particular pathway. The idea of how to relax ourselves, how to not go into this automatic trigger state so that we can keep things under check. And it can be medicated, it can be done a lot of different things, mindfulness, both natural, medical, to help resolve this. But what I want to illustrate is it's not always a case of starting at the upper part of the brain. In fact, it can be a sensory abnormality where this same center of cells is receiving bad information coming from different parts of your body. And that's what's producing the anxious state. Let's have a look at that. All right, we've got a slightly different picture of the brainstem here now, and I'll point out that same cluster, that locus ceruleus we're talking about with anxiety, is this one located right here, number 11. but there's a few other things that I want to point out here. So number one, we have input that's going to be coming from the spine itself, and I will emphasize the joints of the upper neck. These are involved with huge amounts of sensory neural information that goes toward perceiving pain, that goes toward maintaining muscle tension, balance of the head, and also posture. Huge amounts of information which is going up from your neck into the centers of the brain. It will oftentimes mix with this area right here, number 19, the vestibular nuclei. These are responsible for our sense of balance, coordination, movement. The three major sources of input to this particular area, you know what? I'm actually going to say 5. So it's going to be your eyes, your inner ear, so your vestibular organ, your neck, your TMJ, and then the joints of your ankles, because all of this goes into us as human beings being able to stand upright against gravity. My point here again is that there's a ton of information in this particular area, and it's going to be constantly communicating with your cerebellum, which again is involved with that fine-tuned motor coordination. It's going to be involved with the locus ceruleus itself, and then these messages in turn relay back to the cerebellum. They go up to the higher centers of the brain, but you actually have these located on both sides. So if I had an equivalent number 11 over here on the right, it also has downward projections that go to these little guys here. Number 1, number 24 that I have written for you here, it's a fancy spot known as the rostroventral nucleus. What in the heck is that? That regulates blood flow to every single part of your body. There's also a little guy there known as the dorsal motor nucleus. This only goes to every single one of your vital life organs. Your heart, your thyroid, your lungs, your digestive system, your reproductive system, everything like that. Point being, locus ceruleus is involved with all of these. And the truth is this is not just a one-way communication. This is a two-way communication among all of these systems all at once to keep your body in a state of normal equilibrium. Now, here is the problem. If you have an issue where there is essentially a sensory overload, this can be a problem of the cerebellum. This can be a problem of your organs. This can be a problem of the vestibular system, so your inner ear, but it can also be a problem in the neck if it is sending faulty information to your brain. This is like a computer that's running all of the programs all at once, and then it starts to do weird things. The brain, as powerful of a supercomputer it is, it still has a finite processing capacity. And if that system is getting garbled information, that is going to start to invoke a bunch of abnormal reflexes. Abnormal reflexes, the brain is going to perceive, whoa, there's a crisis here. That locus ceruleus then is going to get triggered, and as a consequence, what we have is then a heightened state of anxiety with sensory overload. In other words, the body is playing a trick on the brain, and the brain then is playing a trick on your mind. Everything that you are feeling is 100% real. However, it is not always a case of I just need to focus on my anxiety and bring myself back to a state of calm. No, this is instead where something can be going wrong in your body, and it's essentially setting off an internal alarm system that is triggering this sensation. And this is what the point of my previous video was when I was talking about dizziness when people are out in open spaces. This is because you've got sensory overload, and not only then can it trigger vertigo, headache, migraine, blurriness in the eyes, things like that, it can also trigger this sense of anxiety. But it is not because of the anxiety itself. The anxiety is an effect. It's a symptom of the exact same system not operating the way that it is supposed to. So I hope I've clarified that we can actually have anxiety stemming from two very different sources. We can have it where, yes, we're dealing with a traumatic kind of event, in other words, a top-down kind of anxiety, but it can also be a bottom-up, where a problem with your eyes, your inner ear, with your neck, with your jaw, with your ankles can be playing a trick on your brain, sparking that sensation in addition to other things. And I've said this in a lot of my other videos. It's when we experience multiple symptoms, usually there is a common origin. We don't have a dozen different things wrong with us. We usually have a common origin that simply is showing up a dozen or so different ways. And for any person who is experiencing a headache, imbalance, different kinds of things, pain in their body, the person who does not feel a sense of agitation about this, that's actually the abnormal person right then and there. The question then is, do you simply want to be treating the effect, or do you want to identify what the underlying cause is? And this, again, is not always a simple matter of, here's that one magic silver bullet that you need in order to fix everything. No, this usually involves a process of discovery, finding out what's actually going on in your body. But what I wanted to illustrate here for you is that there can indeed be a lot of things that can be done with regards to the health of your neck, your health of your jaw, the health of your balance organs, the health of your body, that if you can resolve some of those, that can make a profound impact in terms of helping people with anxiety. I've seen this any number of different times. People who have pain, they have discomfort, things like that. But once they start care, some people who are almost manic, their entire mood starts to come to balance. And they say, I'm sleeping a lot better, and I'm not having the same sense of constant stress, constant agitation, constant anxiety. So I can say from my own experience, it's not going to solve 100% of all things in all people, but is this one of the important missing pieces of the puzzle? You bet it is. So where do you find more information on this? Well, you can check out my YouTube channel, Dr. Jeffrey Hanna. You can also visit my clinic website, clearchirospokane.com, where we have all kinds of different blogs, videos, all kinds of content about how it is that an issue in the upper part of the neck can be causing a variety of different health issues. So you can check that information out. Please also make sure you click that like and subscribe button here. But if you are not in the Northwest Pacific region, then what you can do is you can go to a directory. It's called UCC Near Me. And what you'll find there is a directory of specialists who focus in the upper part of the neck and how this relates to brain-body function. It's a very different form of healthcare. It does not involve any drugs, there's no surgery, and there is no neck stretching or twisting either. This is a very gentle, very safe procedure that can help restore normal function communication between brain and rest of your body so you can enjoy the life that you want to enjoy. Thanks for watching this video. It's Dr. Jeffrey Hanna at Clear Chiropractic. Get well, live well, stay well.